Run away while you still can, my friend.
Okay, so here we go. What time is it? See you, Will.
That was not a good time for me to...
Okay, it's 9 o'clock almost.
2 hours later.
May 2nd, the Rat Patrol are going to come here in about a month. What's the Rat Patrol? The Park Patrol.
Oh.
They hunt down the wannabe cops.
Start looking for people not wearing the helmets.
Exactly. So what do you think about the cops? And I think there's so much on steroid, they're afraid to go after the big crime of the city. They go after bicycle with no helmet. What do you think? Go ahead.
Well, from what I see, like the idea of finding someone for not wearing a helmet, it comes down to money, right? Like the city wants money, it's trying to find someone getting it. The other side of the argument is saying that the adults should set a good example for the kids that should be wearing helmets that have the soft heads, right? But I think that we should have the liberty to choose what we want for our own bodies. I understand setting a good example, but we have to teach them why they need to do something, and just because everyone else isn't doing the same thing doesn't mean they shouldn't. Like, it's situational. So if I cannot afford a helmet, or I forget my helmet, I shouldn't be fined for that, because I'm a student, so I mean we're naturally partially impoverished, and for some reason I don't have my helmets, like it breaks or something like that, and I was a $20 fine for not wearing helmets. $29. So that's $30. That's $30 worth of food coming out of my mouth because I, for some reason, did not have a helmet. And to me, I assume it's greed. I cannot think of any other reason why that'd be in place. Opinion?
I agree with Dale on this one.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. There's a few things I would like to ask, like, cops, just because I do find loopholes interesting and see what they have to say about them. Like, say, about biking, for example. So you're only allowed to bike on the road. You're not allowed to bike on the sidewalk. But the areas where you put your bike and you lock up your bike are on the sidewalk. So does that mean do you have to bike on the road, get off of the bike on the road, and then walk to the
yeah, that's what's expected. Like what comes down to is bikes are considered motorized vehicles at this point.
Yeah.
I understand that it's like I'm kind of polarized on the issue because when I first had to not bike on the sidewalk and bike on the road, I was terrified because you don't get taught how to bike on the road. You're just expected to go on the road and beat traffic. I've learned now. I'm an experienced biker, but building up to it, that's why you have so many people that dart across the street and make people like me that could properly bike look like we're all blanketed poor drivers.
Opinion?
You have no like
bikes, helmets. I'm basically him, and I just think it's kind of absurd to get kids to the mindset of wear a helmet because if you don't, it's illegal. Like, what kind of precedent does that set? And even then, too, like 90% of the accidents I'm in, like this isn't my head. This got banged up because of a bike today. My head has been fine every single time. It might sound a bit brain damaged, but
however, you could have gotten lucky per se. I'm just saying, I'm not.
Oh yeah, no, devil's advocate, of course,
like,
of course.
It could have gotten.
Well, it's an accident, like it can go many ways.
Did you guys?
Well, in that case, then you could have worn knee pads.
But then, do we really need our kids going out, playing looking like they're playing football when there's biking across the trail?
Exactly.
I mean, it's just an escalation of.
30 years ago, I rode a bicycle around the Maritimes, and then I rode across Canada on a 10-speed, and I went from Halifax to San Francisco. So I didn't have a helmet in those days. But you only have to wear a helmet in New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and British Columbia. Like Quebec and Ontario, 16 years and younger.
Which makes sense.
It makes sense. Yes, it makes sense. And it cuts down on healthcare costs. Those moody Quebecois. I'll say that because I can't stand Quebecers. But anyway, they know it's only 7 months a year that you could exercise, so they allow people to exercise. Go ahead, it's good. It's good for the health. But here, I'm not going to ride my bike. I don't have a helmet.
Yeah.
And then if you got, they stop you and say, I can't afford one. I'm a social assistant. Go and buy one at Walmart for $10. But the one the cops are wearing and the Rat Patrol, they're about $250. The good helmets.
See, you want one that's actually going to protect your head, you have to spend at least $20 to $30. Like, I wouldn't trust a $10 helmet with my head.
No, it'll soften the blow, but...
Yeah,
and like, I've gotten into accidents not wearing my helmet. I'm not saying it's a good idea, but I feel like it's over-asserted. I think that's the word I'm looking for. Like, the importance of it is definitely exaggerated.
Europe, you don't have to wear one. China, you don't have to wear one. The States, you don't have to wear one.
When I was like 11 when I heard bike helmets were suddenly like allowed now, and I was like, this is kind of stupid. Like, things were fine before.
Skateboard, you should wear one. I stepped on a skateboard once. I sat on the couch for about a week. You should wear one for skateboard.
Oh,
but
definitely
Okay,
if you're learning.
Def, I actually want your opinion on this. Because, like, if I'm going over the handlebars, my natural inclination is to tuck into a roll, right? Would you feel like that wearing a helmet would obstruct my safety roll and make it harder for me to do so and injure my neck?
That's a good one.
My honest opinion on that is, like, if it comes down to a possibility of screwing up or getting into an accident, I would prefer have the helmet.
Yeah.
And like with my bike, I personally enjoy biking on the trails where I'm biking at a normal pace. You know, everyone's going slow. Everyone, you know.
Yeah.
I don't like my helmet on because I have a lot of hair on my head,
Yeah.
and it creates a lot of heat, and then I get itchy and I get distracted.
And it's bulky.
It's frustrating.
But if you want to do wheelies, wear a
Yeah,
helmet.
if I start if I want to do like a jump, I'll stop, put my helmet on, or
Yeah.
if I'm on top of campus and I start to pick up some speed, put a helmet on. You know, then
Yeah, common
it's
sense.
common sense.
I
yeah.
crashed the other day, actually, because the new bike, I found out the hard way that going down Campus Hill, potholes will kill you. Went over the edge, I got a bleeding head, I got gash down here, like, I got marks on my elbows and things like that. I survived, though, without a helmet.
But if you're right here at 10 miles an hour, 5 miles an hour, and then suddenly you're stopped because it's unsafe.
Yeah, it's like a,
And they tell you it's not
15
safe.
kilometer an hour speed limit.
I love ignoring
Like-
that.
Not crazy, huh?
In my opinion, well, see,
15 seconds.
that's
Almost
it.
at the end. No.
All right, how do I tell I'm going 15 kilometers an hour?
15 seconds.
Oh,
All right, so
randomly too.
like a solution that I could see is if you're riding if only we had the right to ride on the sidewalk. If we did, then we'd be going at a slow pace, just like the pedestrians. Hence, we wouldn't have to use the helmet. However, if we're on the road biking, then we'd have to use the helmet because the sidewalk bylaws and and the road bylaws are completely different. So they could write that separately.
That could also be dangerous for the pedestrians,
But
too.
they can't. But I
Let's point
understand
out,
how
though.
they can't have like casual biking on the trails without a helmet, and then like in the city limits use a helmet because people can abuse it. How far are the city limits? What are the? So then I could see how they can't change it. But if they do it for the road and for anywhere else but the road, then it's two separate bylaws altogether. So then you can actually do it.
Yep.
If they did that, it'd be wonderful.
15 seconds.
15 seconds for me to say anything? I think I said all that needs to be said.
I'm just going to say that in Europe, they have a lot more bikes and not a lot of cars, but just the way everything is designed makes a lot more sense for cyclists. They're a lot safer, They got their own roads, they got their own this, that. Because here, like downtown, is nuts sometimes. You have no idea where you're supposed to go. Drivers aren't paying
drivers.
attention. People
No.
just running across the
Potholes
road.
galore.
Like,
And
I don't know.
they-
I just think some better city planning could also help a
As
bit.
well as-
But don't get me wrong, this city's great.
And maybe find last 15 seconds. Who the hell wants to ride on the road the way those snobs are driving?
Oh, yeah.